Welcome to the Real Estate Jam Session. We've got a good one for you today. Why investing in multifamily properties is a great way to build your wealth. I've got Lee Yoder coming on the show today. Lee has started off as a physical therapist but wanted to create more wealth for himself. So he started flipping homes, got addicted to it, started investing in multifamily, and now he's doing syndications. He's been doing it for a lot of years. He's also written an ebook. It's 5 Steps to Passive Income for the Full-Time Dad. So I'm really excited to have him come on today. So make sure, if you haven't done so, you subscribe and check out the video. Also, if you're new to this channel, my name is Joe Killinger. I'm a real estate entrepreneur. I've been 20 plus years in the business. And we put this content out to really kind of give you the tips and tricks of what's worked for us. And we also talk about our failures. And we ask our guests to do the same. So make sure that you check in every week. We put these out every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. PST, so check it out. Well, Lee, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm a firm believer in investing in apartments. We actually, at this time, we don't own any apartments. The last assets we owned were in Dallas, Texas, and we got some offers on there that we were like, okay, well, if you want them that bad, then, and then we bought some triple net assets. We bought a Chase Bank and a Jack in the Box, one in Dallas, one in Allen, Texas. And so, but I do love apartments, and we will get back into it. The areas that we service are we're mostly Los Angeles and Dallas right now, so it's really a hot market. Mm-hmm. But, want to talk to you about, if I'm a new investor, what path do I need to go to really get started investing in multifamily?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Joe. It's a pleasure to be on. Yeah, it's a good question because it's not something you just jump into. I mean, anybody can go flip a house. Because anybody can go buy, not anybody, but just about anybody can go buy a single family home. But buying an apartment building, not only do most people not have the money to do it themselves, but even if you partner with some people and find the money, the brokers just aren't going to sell to you because they want to sell to somebody with experience. And how do you get your experience, right? If you haven't done it. So it is hard to get started. I think you've got two options, Joe. I think you either start small and buy the properties that the better competition don't want to buy. That's kind of the route I took. So my first one was a 16 unit, outside of Dayton, Ohio. That was an old school building that was converted to a nursing home and then converted to apartments. And nobody out of LA is going to be interested in that. I mean, most people in Ohio aren't even going to be interested in that. So my competition was small, so I could get that and get started. Well, it was that 16 unit that got me the next one that got the brokers, that are selling 100 units finally interested in me. So I think that's one path, is really to start small. And I think that the other path, Joe, is to join a networking group, to join, there's all these coaching programs out there and they provide some good coaching. But I think why a lot of people join them is because you suddenly get a huge network. So you might join somebody or maybe you join your local RIA and you find somebody, but you find somebody that's already bought a 100-unit apartment building and you provide them some value and then you can partner with them. So you borrow their experience, their expertise, their relationships with brokers, and you jump in that way. So I think you've either got to partner with somebody or you got to start small to get into it.
Now, how did you find your first deal?
LoopNet.com. You know that, where deals go to die and where all the horrible deals are. And it wasn't a good deal. I offered, they wanted $440 for it and I offered $350 and they countered and I said, nope, $350. And it needed a bunch of work. And so I got a huge discount on it. This was toward the end of 2018. So things were hot then, but not as hot as they are now. So got a good deal on it and it needed a lot of work. So a lot of the people didn't want it. So when I called the broker that was selling it, he was okay talking to me because it had been on the market for a long time and the serious buyers didn't want it. So he was stuck dealing with me.
You were the last option, huh?
Yeah, I was the only option at the time.
No, the only option.
Yeah.
Well, that'll work. I just put a thing out, a post out on social this morning. We get a good number of these, and this is a good tip for new investors is if you are out there looking, you don't want to call every brokerage company and say, hey, show me your deals, show me your off-market deals. I always advise, because they're never going to send them to you, right? Because they've got buyers in the first place.
For sure.
And they know that you're out there shopping at every broker. And if I send you a deal and somebody else sends you the same deal, who gets the deal? Do you have to go by a time frame? I send it first, or they send it first, So I really want new investors to be cautious here. Don't really just go on and call every broker and say, this is what I'm doing. Send me all your deals, because that will backfire for you, right?
Sure, yeah,
I'm sure you've seen it
Yep.
too. And
Yep.
find a broker that's in your area and really work with them. Do regular meetings with them. Do regular calls. But I've seen that that's something that really can be dangerous for a new investor to do.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that. That certainly worked out for us. We bought 3 deals last year, 188 units between the 3 deals. The one was brought to me kind of by a friend investor. The other 2 were the same brokerage, and we've just really gotten a good relationship. And honestly, I kind of rely on them for our next one, most likely, because I really trust them. They trust me as a buyer, and so I think their deal flow is going to be good enough. I don't need to buy a deal every month. When you buy an apartment building. So hey, if they can bring me a couple, 2, 3 a year, that's going to be good.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really, and the thing is, you're treating it like a business. You found that one on LoopNet because you were treating it like a business and doing it yourself. You're out there looking for it. A broker might not have brought that to you because it's been on the market so long.
Right.
You reaching out, so you're out there in the marketplace, you're networking, you're looking on LoopNet. And as somebody that's starting out, you're going to look at a lot of deals. How many deals did you look at before you got your first deal?
Yeah, I would say somewhere around 50 at least.
Yeah.
And I think LoopNet is just a good place to start because, like you said, Joe, you don't want to call brokers and I mean, don't think they're going to send you their good deals. Especially in this market, finding a buyer is not a problem, right? That's not a problem.
Agent, yeah.
So if you think you're calling and you're offering them something because you're a buyer, you don't know the market you're investing in right now.
Right.
Buyers are not a problem. So again, LoopNet was a great place to go where that's the one place they didn't have buyers for those properties because those are the ones nobody wanted. They already took it to their buyers list. Nobody wanted it. So they threw it on LoopNet. But that's what I did. I just got on LoopNet and I looked at all these deals and underwrote them and called the broker and, went through all that on LoopNet. Now I don't do that today. Luckily, like I said, we have some relationships, but if I were getting started again, that's what I would do.
Yeah. How did you learn that's a lot of underwriting, 50 properties. How did you learn to underwrite?
Yeah, Joe, I got lucky. Our local RIA here in Cincinnati, Ohio, had a guy step up who had been through some of a coaching program and had kind of really learned and honed some skills and bought a couple. I mean, he hadn't done much, but he bought a few multifamily properties and he started an apartment focus group for the local RIA. So I went to that every first Monday of the month or whatever, and he taught me how to underwrite. He kind of passed on what he learned, and I learned from him.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's fine. It's good if you can find a mentor like that or somebody that can really walk you through how to do the underwriting, or partner with people in the first few deals that know how to underwrite. Really, because the underwriting is really where the investment is, right? The asset.
100%. Absolutely.
You've got to know how to underwrite it. Otherwise, you're going to get in trouble. How's your occupancy rate? You guys full?
Yeah, we're pretty full. I'll tell you, Joe, it was even still, since September is when the eviction moratorium went away. Now in Ohio, maybe lucky compared to you guys, we never stopped evicting people. That was never a thing here in Ohio. We could evict people all the way through, and we did. You still had to pay your rent in Ohio, luckily. But I don't think every landlord, every owner treated it that way. So come September, there was a flood of evictions. So we are noticing in Dayton where we invested, it's because right now we just have 2, but we have waited forever to get a court date because they're backed up, and heck, their staffing is probably down like everybody else all across the country, right? People can't get enough people to come to work. So we're seeing some of that. So we're seeing a little bit of an uptick in occupancy because of that. I will say the lower end, we've got some almost a C- class stuff. We're seeing a little softening there, but the nicer stuff, B class stuff, high occupancy, 90, 96, 98% occupancy.
Okay. What's going on with your rent? You guys increasing pretty steadily?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we are. That's where we're finding meat on the bone, Joe. Prices are high. When we buy, I feel like I'm overpaying because I wouldn't have paid these prices a year ago. So I'm like, why am I paying them now? The property's the same, but rent is not the same that it was a year ago, right? I mean, I heard some stuff that on average, it was like 14 to 17% rent increases over 2021. So
Across,
what we're seeing, yeah, right. So what we're seeing is, yeah, we're paying a lot more, but this guy, he hasn't kept up with the market, and market rent is 800 and his average is 640. So if we just come in and get up to market rent today, that's our business plan. We're going to be doing good. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of rent increases. We've got a building where if people move, because again, the previous owners just didn't do anything. If people move out and we can renovate the unit, we're putting like 14, 15 grand into the unit. They're bigger units. We're putting a lot into it. We can get a rent bump of 3 to 350 on those. But even the people that are staying that are up a little bit higher, we're raising rent $100 at a time, and people they're not moving because they can't find anything cheaper than that. So yeah, we're seeing some good rent increases.
Wow. And now what size apartments do you guys focus on? Do you have mostly twos and threes, or ones and singles?
Mostly twos, but we've got one part of our portfolio, some ones and even studios, but mostly twos.
Okay. Now do you self-manage?
No, we do not. We use third-party management.
Third party. Have you guys thought about self-managing?
Yeah, I'm always thinking about it, especially as I'm thinking about scaling. Like I said, we just have 188 units now. So, we haven't reached, any kind of significant scale, but we want to, we want to buy, 500 units this year. And so, we'll be at 688. Okay. That's probably enough to bring it in house. But, Joe, I want nothing to do with it. I want nothing to do with being a property manager. I want nothing to do with managing a property manager. As an asset manager, as the owner, you still manage the manager.
Yeah.
But that's about as close as I want to get to property management. If I had to do more, honestly, Joe, I don't think I'd enjoy doing this. I'd probably go do something else. So as long as I'm going to be doing it, yeah. And you'll talk to people that say different things. I know a lot of guys in the business that are far ahead of me, know a lot more than me, that say when you get to 1,000 units, you got to bring it in house. I know other guys that have more than that, and they say no. They say, like, look, just because because a lot of people say, hey, no one will ever care about your property like you do, and that's true. But one of my mentors was like, yeah, well, no one's ever going to care about your body like you do. Are you going to do your own surgery? Yeah. No, you're going to leave it up to the expert. And I think too, Joe, the bigger you get, you typically get better property management. So I think, as we're going after these bigger properties, there's some more sophisticated, better property managers out there that I think can do a pretty good job for us. And, some people, as you're growing, you think, hey, once I get 1,000 units, man, I'll really have some scale. I'll have some buying power. Not really. I mean, there's property managers that manage 30,000 units in your area. So that's scale, right? They've got buying power. They can go and get the contractor. So I don't know. At this point, Joe, I really don't have an interest in bringing it in-house. I'd rather just find better and better property management and let them do that. And I'll just focus on buying properties and finding investors and being an asset manager.
Yeah, we've done both. I mean, we were in Texas. We self-managed, and there occasionally be some sleepless nights. You'd have something go on in a property, and it's kind of tough. It's just nice to be able to have that property management company that you can really rely on instead of your own employees. It's a little harder, but I've done both. But I also think that as a new investor, they really need to think about if they're going to buy out of area. Now, everything you own is in Ohio, correct? Around your area?
Yep.
So if a new investor, because we've seen this, people from California investing in other states, and then they end up losing that property because the management company they hired is now, fudge numbers and, or they've bought inventory and they've shipped it off to another property. So I think people, as a new investor, you better be careful of your property management company and interview a ton of them before you.
Absolutely. Yep. Good point, Joe. Absolutely. I mean, it is really hard to find good property management. And that's why people bring it in-house, because they say, look, I don't care if I make nothing off this property management company. I can trust myself to not steal from me. Absolutely, man. It's really hard to find good property management.
Yeah. We had one, and she didn't realize I was running a tech company for our company here. And we hired a property management company. And since day one, she would be leaving around 11 a.m. She'd show up at 9, leave at 11. I'd stop by the property, nobody there. So I'd call the supervisor. They go, yeah, she's there. So they thought I was still living in California. So so after a week of that, I finally said, you know what, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
and hired our own staff. I went back out and had to manage myself for a while. That was fun.
You learned a
But
lot. It's a good learning experience.
yeah. Now, how many properties do you guys own now, Lee?
So we just own 3 properties, 188 units between.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So now, do you have a platform that you utilize to oversee your management company, or do you have in-house bookkeeping? How do you guys do it?
Yeah, good question. They use Appfolio. So
Okay.
we
Yeah.
they use that. And so we jump on there, we can run all of our reports. But then honestly, we just keep some Google Docs spreadsheets to kind of keep our own P&L, but they keep all that for us in Appfolio.
Yeah. Appfolio is good. Solid.
It's pretty good.
Solid
Yeah,
company.
we like it.
Now, as far as investing in multifamily, we're seeing inflation. Actually, I think I was looking at some prices of gas here in Los Angeles the other day. I wasn't paying $6 a gallon anymore. Swear to God.
Level off a little bit.
That
All
hurt.
right, that's good.
But it was down to 5.15 or 5.20, something like that. So maybe inflation's starting to ease a little bit. I don't know, but multifamily. Do you believe it's a good way to fight inflation?
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, for a couple of reasons, Joe. One, anything you can get debt on and get lock in an interest rate on,
Right.
you're going to do well against inflation, because as long as the government is trying, and I believe they're trying very hard to make the dollar worth less, then your debt becomes worth less. And this is the basic point of a Robert Kiyosaki that says savers are losers. It sucks that it's that way, but the money you have in a savings account is constantly becoming worth less and less and less, as we have even not at the crazy inflation we've having, Joe, but your Federal Reserve is telling you that they want to inflate away 2% per year. So over 10 years, you've lost 20% of your money. So you put $100,000 in a savings account. The Federal Reserve is telling you that they want that to only be worth $80,000 in 10 years.
Yeah.
They're telling you that. Well, the same goes for your debt. If you have $100,000 in debt on a property, not only are your residents going to pay it off for you, but that debt is going to become worth less. So you're going to pay that debt back with more dollars that are worth less, right? So anyway, your rent's going to go up, everything is going to go up, but your debt's not going up, right? Your debt is actually becoming worth less. So just the fact that you can get a debt with a locked interest rate is going to help you to deal with inflation. The other thing is, if you think about, you think, well, rent's going to go up, but your expenses are going to go up. And that's for sure. We've seen our expenses really go up this year. But your revenue is should be always worth more than your expenses. So on a given property in C class, you kind of expect your expenses to be about 50%. So of your revenue. So if you imagine you have a property, and let's just use round numbers, you have I don't know, 100 unit property, you're pulling in $1 million a year. Your expenses are 500,000. Well, let's say both go up by 10%, right? We've had this crazy inflation, both go up by 10%. Well, 10% of $1 million is 100,000. 10% of 500,000 is 50,000. So both inflated, yes, but you just made 50 grand off that inflation, right?
Yeah.
Because your income is worth more than expenses. So that's another place you'll see it, is that rent increases, expenses increase, but you're still winning because rent's outpacing. Also with inflation, while your debt is being paid down and your debt is costing less because they're devaluing the dollar, asset prices go up. I mean, if the dollar is worth less, then they're going to pay more for your property, and they're going to keep interest rates down, and that's why it's part of why we see the inflation. So your property value is going to go up, just as things do when you devalue a currency. Real assets, the prices go up.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. So, a few ways: your debt's become worth less, your property's become worth more, the income is going to outpace your expenses with inflation. So, a lot of ways there that you're going to do well against inflation.
Yeah. Also, with the tax benefits of multifamily compared to other assets, could we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Just the general depreciation, your property, over time, I'm very confident, over the next 10 years, your property is just going to go up in value.
Sure.
But the IRS lets you pretend like your property is going to go down in value. So you can write off the losses. So they say, hey, you buy a property for $5 million. In 27 and a half years, that property is going to be worth zero. That's how your taxes are. So that $5 million, you get to, take the depreciation of that 127th and a half every year. So you get to take a little bit of that. So, whatever that is, Joe, 50,000, 100,000, whatever, you're going to get to write that off every single year. And everybody that owns equity in the property gets some of that depreciation. So what it's most likely going to look like is the money that you make off of that property, you're probably going to be able to depreciate that and make tax-free money off the property is what it's going to come down to. Now it's only deferred, so you will pay that someday if you sell the property.
Sure.
But yeah, you get to defer some taxes. And then what we did on this last property, Joe, for the first time is we used the bonus depreciation. So we did a cost segregation analysis.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yep. So it's a $6 million property, and we get to depreciate $1 million in year one. So we can do, 1/6 in year one. And our investors are going to get a return because with that, you get to carry that over. So if you can't use it all this year, you get to carry it over. Right. Now, if you're an LP on a deal, you only get to use that depreciation against passive income. You can't use it against your ordinary income. So it's going to benefit us GPs much more, but everybody's going to benefit from it.
Yeah. Now, multifamily depreciates faster than regular commercial, correct?
Yeah, I think you were even saying, Joe, I think regular commercial is like 39 years to depreciate, and multifamily is 27 and a half.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it does depreciate faster. Now, are you guys more cash flow investors or are you appreciation plays?
We're definitely more cash flow. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Midwest is more cash flow in general anyway. But that's definitely the properties we're going after. I feel, Joe, that who knows what's going to happen, because if you print enough money, you can keep the bubble going for a really, really long time. We've already shown that, but we're still really high, and interest rates can't really go down much more. They actually can. They are lower even in other countries, so we can go lower. Maybe that's the Fed's plan, but I'm worried that the next 5 years and certainly I'm worried that the next 3 to 5 years don't look as good as the past. So I want to get into something that I'm buying for cash flow. So if it doesn't appreciate, heck, even if it depreciates, we're going to be okay, because I'm confident it's going to come back. Maybe not the next 3 years. So I don't want to get into something where in the next 3 years we could be in trouble when hey, here's what we're going to do. These next 3 years, it's going to be worth this, and we're going to get you your money back. Maybe you don't hit that if we don't have, the same inflation type stuff.
What do you think Jamie Dimon was out yesterday, and he's really high on the economy. But do you think and he's talking 4 interest rate hikes.
Yeah.
And, do you think, how's that going to affect multifamily investments, do you think?
Jamie Dimon's a market wizard, so I'm not going to try to compete, but I listen to a lot of that. I love macroeconomics. I just love listening to this stuff and reading this stuff. I'll be shocked if they can raise interest rates like that. I don't see how they do it. I mean, we saw, they tried to do it in 2018. Our economy can't handle it. We just have too much debt that has to roll over, and it can't roll over to higher interest rates. So I'll be shocked if they're able to do that. If they do, Joe, that's why I'll be glad that we locked in an interest rate for 5 years, right? We always have a fixed interest rate for at least 5 years. On our one property, we got a Freddie Mac loan where it's fixed for 10. So that's when we'll be glad. It'll definitely affect prices. It'll affect asset values. So again, the ones we bought this past year, we don't plan on selling them real soon anyway. So that's not going to affect us. So it's going to affect pricing. Does it affect rents? I don't think so. So we're going to be good. It's just a period of time where you look to just cash flow. Again, that's why, I like the cash flow. You cash flow and you say, okay, we might not be able to sell in these next few years. It might not make sense for us because we bought when interest rates were down here and now they're up here. So prices go down, right?
Yeah.
So we'll wait till they come back down or whatever, till we pay off debt and then we can sell. So
don't you think it'll just kind of stabilize multifamily a little bit? Because there isn't a day goes by that we don't get a call in this office. We have Commercial Brokers International here in Los Angeles, and there's not a day that goes by that people aren't coming to say, hey, I want multifamily. And, we've got a good amount of it, but the demand is still so much higher.
Yes. Yeah. You're right. I think it'll make multifamily a little less appealing because you can't get quite as good of debt on it. So it just takes some of the demand down because, the big investors, the investors are calling you, Joe. They're comparing it to other investment opportunities. So right now, multifamily is one of the best, if not the best, in my opinion.
I agree.
With higher interest rates, it takes it down a little bit. You're right. So maybe it just at least cools it off
industrial, multifamily,
yes,
triple nets. The phones keep ringing on that stuff. So I think people are just a little anxious. We got a good number of 1031 exchanges we're working on right now. So it's good that because I think the market is going to stay strong. Residential, I'm not sure about, but I do think, being in multifamily, you guys are in a great spot because there's such a shortage of housing in the United States.
Right.
And, it's you're seeing more people leaving the big cities still, right? And they're coming to your communities. They're getting out of Los Angeles and New York and moving there. And so I just think the demand is going to stay for a while.
I think so too. Yeah. Interest rates won't affect the demand, right?
Yeah. I just think people are still going to want to own it. How long do you guys hold for? What's your hold period?
We always say 3 to 5 years. Like I said, we've got fixed interest, fixed rate, fixed loan for 5 years. So within 5 years, we're going to do something. We're going to sell or refinance, but it could be earlier than that. I like to set people's expectations at 5 years because if the economy is not doing so well, if interest rates rise and prices fall, then probably it's not going to make sense to do anything for 5 years. But by 5 years, we've paid off some debt. So we've gained equity just by paying down our debt over 5 years. We'll do interest only for a year or two, but we're going to pay off some debt in 5 years. So, and then I think rent's going to go up a little bit, over the next 5 years at least. So we're going to be in a position in 5 years for sure to either refinance and pull a bunch of money out or sell. If things keep going well, we might be in that position in 2 years. So we'll exceed people's expectations, but we try to set the expectation at 5.
Yeah, it's the people that have bought these or using these IO loans. They could get a little scary.
I know.
These rates start ticking up. It's really, it could get tough. But all right, well,
the bridge debt makes me nervous for that reason. A lot of people doing bridge debt, right? And it's great. I mean, the underwriting is kind of soft, so you can get in and they don't care about that DSCR so much, and they give you 3 years of interest only, sometimes 5. But when you're not paying down debt, your plan better work out, because they're gonna make you get out of the loan. So like you said,
definitely.
If that interest rate's higher, it's gonna be tough.
For our new investors, what's your number one tip for our new investors?
Joe, I would say you gotta network. We said it. You can go out there and just do it yourself. I mean, that's kind of what I did. I started with a flip. I wouldn't do that way again. I would go out and network with people that are maybe one step ahead of me, maybe 2, get some people that are 5 or 10, and just network with them. And maybe you find a partner, or maybe you just find somebody that's willing to mentor you a little bit. Maybe you pay for that mentorship. But the more you can put yourself around people that are, a couple steps ahead of you, already doing what you want to do or already well on their way, you're going to, you're going to jump ahead instead of just walking and.
I'm a firm believer. Networking is, and I was terrible at it. I'm the guy that would go to a networking event and I would be in the back table, kind of hiding. I just didn't have that confidence. And, I've learned over the years that, getting out there, just meeting people and getting to know them, and you'd be surprised what you can learn from people. Just this morning, we have a property in Texas that it's a bank, and we bought it because we knew it was going to go dark and we want to redo the whole thing. And we're in no rush. We still got 8 years left on it, but we talked to a couple of clients and we didn't really have any luck with them. But I was talking to one of my friends and she said, "Oh, I know the CEO of the company. Let me give you a call." And he come back, "I don't understand why we didn't come in higher on this property." So it's, I think we're going to get a deal done. So
nice.
And it's all from networking.
Yeah,
it's networking is very powerful. So
absolutely.
Well, Lee, thank you for coming on. Yeah, tell me about your book real quick. Your ebook.
Yeah. We got a free ebook. It's up on our website, threefoldrei.com. It's called 5 Steps to Passive Income for the Full-Time Dad. Because Joe, the great thing about multifamily and industrial, the great thing about investing in real estate, you don't have to do it actively. You can do it passively. You can be a limited partner. You can put your money to work for you. And I just, I'm a dad myself. My partner's a dad. So it's for moms too, but, we identify more with dads. And I just think a lot of dads, they want to be there for their family, but they also want to provide for their family. And most of the time when you think, hey, I really want to provide for my family, I want to make a little bit more. We want to send our kids to private school, right? So I need to make an extra 10, 20 grand a year. I got to work toward that promotion. I got to work harder. I got to work more. if you could take some of your money, if you could save some money, if you could get, pull a home equity line of credit, if you do a self-directed 401k, if you've got some of your money in 401k and you make your money work for you, if you can get $100,000 to work for you and you get a nice 10% return on that in steady, safe real estate, you just made $10,000 without working at all, right? Without doing any more work. So that's kind of what we're passionate about. Is not everybody has that. But I think a lot of people don't realize you can do it through a 401k or a Roth IRA. A lot of people don't realize that you can even do that, pull out some of a home equity line of credit if your house has gone up a bunch. Put your money to work for you instead of just working more hours. There's more, more ways to make more money than just
work smart,
more time. Yeah,
work smart, not hard. Create your destiny. Well, Lee, we're going to put a link to your ebook on the bottom of this video. We're going to put all your contact information. Thank you for coming on today. We learned a lot. And
thanks for having me on, Joe. It was a pleasure. Yeah.
Stay warm there in Ohio. And for those of you that are watching, thank you for tuning in today. If you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe. And of course, you need to like this video too. Thanks.